Kona Rescue Beastie is exactly what I'm talking about when I say that green is cheating. Like green needed any more help to cheat in giant permanents ahead of schedule. This is exactly the kind of unga-bunga buffoonery that really grinds my gears about green. But I used to have a dog named Kona, and I loved her very much. Rest in peace, my sweet angel. So I decided to nay, embrace my demons, and I brewed a classic mono green stompy ramp deck around Kona, my bestie, and without further ado, I'm Aiden, and let's get into this spicy brew. Now, Kona does have a twist compared to the typical green ramp deck. In order for Kona to allow us to cheat literally any permanent we want into play, we need to make sure that we can get her tapped before our second main phase. So I made sure to load up the list with lots of ways to tap down Kona without putting her in combat so we can keep her safe. Ideally, for these tappers, we're looking for two main qualities. The first one being that they're cheaper than Kona, so mostly 1 and 2 drops, but a couple 3 drops as well, and that they allow us to tap her the turn she comes into play. So that means we want the tap ability to be attached to the tap outlet and not to Kona herself, so something like a vehicle is perfect for this. So I included a bunch of 1-drops that allow us to tap Kona for mana, and then a bunch of vehicles as well. I especially want to shout out the hover bike, which is amazing because it has flash, so we can flash it in on the end step before we play Kona to make sure our opponents are not going to be ready for it. I also want to shout out Dodgy Jalopy because, holy crap, is that a fun card name to say, and it pairs really well with the Greater Good and other Power Matter synergies that are in this mono green deck. I also included the boots, which are still pretty good at getting Kona tapped the turn she comes in because they give haste, especially if we can play a Monodork turn 1, we can play the boots turn 2, and then Kona comes down, and a 4-3 usually won't have a problem attacking on turn 3 for at least one of our opponents. And then I also have a couple lands that I can tap Kona with as a backup. Now that the boring stuff is out of the way, let's get into those badass permanents we're going to be cheating into play for free as early as turn 3, or maybe even turn 2 with a good Soul Ring hand. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be tempted to be cheating in Giant Eldrazi or big one-shotters like Blightsteel Colossus, and you wouldn't necessarily be wrong to do this, but I don't think Kona really lends herself to cheating those kinds of haymakers into play. For one, Kona puts the cards into play, so you're going to be missing out on any of the really powerful cast triggers that come from Eldrazi, and two, she triggers on your post-combat main phase, meaning you are going to have to wait an entire turn cycle before you can attack with any of the big haymakers you put into play. So if you put in one of these giant Eldrazi or Blightsteel, and then it gets removed because you know people are going to be ready with removal if they didn't already remove Kona, they're going to be looking for the removal for whatever you're cheating into play. You're going to be sad to not get any value off of what you cheated. And you're probably going to be running low on cards because you had to ramp, find a tapper for Kona, and then cheated in this big haymaker to get no value. So I think it's really important that whatever you cheat into play with Kona, you can get value from right away. So things with good enters triggers or good static effects. I'm talking about creatures like Apex Altasaur, which if you drop this on turn 3 or 4, it's just gonna wipe away everyone else's creatures while leaving you with a giant 10/10 that if anyone ever tries to block, will again just wipe away everyone else's creatures. It also pairs really well with all of the indestructible tricks that we're going to be playing to protect Kona anyways. Another amazing permanent to cheat into play is Lurking Predators. With how fast Commander is these days, people are casting multiple spells a turn by turn 4 or 5 pretty consistently. So if you can cheat in a Lurking Predators early in the game, it's going to give you a ton of opportunities to find more of those big haymakers for free, which is what this deck is all about. Other great ETBs I've included are Regal Force, which just draws a card for every green creature in play, Cultivator Colossus, which can ramp us and draw us a ton of cards, and then if you're ever stuck with a bunch of big bodies in hand, or if you get a kind of awkward draw, Galta Stampede Tyrant can just win you the game. I also included a few more really big vehicles, because it's pretty easy to attack with Kona at least once early, but you're gonna want to have a way to tap her from then on out. So these are really nice giant haymakers that are both a tap outlet and can dodge all the creature board wipes that our opponents are gonna be running. Our final big bombs are going to be the OG Galta, which is just great with our Power Matter stuff, Zopandrel, also amazing with our Power Matter stuff, and Titan of Industry, which is just super versatile, being able to gain us life, be artifact or enchantment removal, make another body, or put a shield counter on whatever our most important permanent is. I've also really enjoyed playing mana doublers in this list. They are great to cheat in the turn that you play Kona because all of your lands will likely be tapped, but if you manage to get another trigger off your commander, cheating in one of these mana doublers early will allow you to really just accelerate ahead of the rest of the table, allowing you to just cast the rest of those big haymakers and get your card draw going. So things like Zendikar Resurgent, Nyxbloom Agent, and Regal Behemoth put in a ton of work, and this deck just tends to snowball really hard, as most mono green decks do. So if your opponents don't stop you early, these cards help it make it so it's likely going to be too late. Everyone knows the biggest risk for these big green ramp decks is running out of gas. So I jammed a ton of card draw into this list. We have permanents that draws cards whenever a creature enter, and make sure we can have a steady stream of draw, but also these big bursts of card draw cards, like Rishkar's Expertise and the new Season of Gathering, which also doubles as just mass artifact and or enchantment removal, which is amazing. That card is just really good. If you guys play any kind of big creature deck, I definitely recommend picking one up soon. Of course, we need some more interaction. Beast Within is a mainstay in any mono green deck, of course. Collective Resistance is an awesome multi-target removal spell that also doubles as a protection piece for our board. Bane of Progress and Terrasodon complete our non-creature removal package, and then Kogla, Rolling Hamsphere, and Portal to Phyrexia round out our creature removal package. Portal is just an absolutely disgusting card to cheat in. It was pretty impossible not to include this one. Liquid Metal Torque is also a great mono rock in any mono green deck, just to shore up the kind of weakness of your creature removal because of our abundant artifact removal. The final category I included in this list was just a bit of recursion, and this includes both recursion from the graveyard, like of course Returnal Witness and Balagad Recovery, but also recursion of our ETBs from the battlefield. Anytime you're playing an ETB deck, it's really important to include ways to reuse those powerful enter the battlefield triggers. So in blue and white, you're looking at flicker effects. In black, you're looking at sack and reanimation stuff. And in red, you're looking at copies. Green doesn't have a super elegant way to do this, but I felt like T-Burn Sabertooth was worth the include to be able to return those good ETB creatures back to our hand, and then our commander can cheat them back out into play for free. Very great way to reuse those powerful ETBs that are all over the place in this list. And that's going to do it for this list. Remember to leave a comment down below with your favorite Duskmourn commander. Who knows, maybe I'll do a deck tech on it. And, as always, like and subscribe to my OnlyLands for the spiciest deck content on the internet. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you next time. Peace.